Yo, what is up? What's up, Cromartie's Babysitters Club? Alright, man, this is it. This is gonna be a weeks 1 through 4 recap of our league. I'm gonna go through all the rankings and the current standings, where everyone stands, which, trust me, it pains me to go through these standings. Number 1, I put this damn league together. Number 2, I talked a lot of shit. Number 3, I'm potentially getting booted by the end of the year. Fuck. Alright, anyways, alright. But we'll go through some rankings, the current standings of where everyone's at. Kind of doing a quick recap on people's teams, like what's been going good, not so good, blah, blah, blah. Then I got a couple announcements for the league, and then I have one really, really big tip to give you all on how to navigate your roster moving forward. Probably something I shouldn't share with you, but I'm a good human being. I want a fun, competitive league. I'm 0-4. This is probably going to help you win more games, which will make me lose more games, but hopefully this is part of the argument and for keeping me in the league at the end of the year. It's just be like, Andrew's a nice guy. He really helped us out. You know what I mean? Anyways. Alright, fuck it, let's go. We'll start at the bottom, which is going to be really freaking easy. We're sitting at 0-4, and the only 0-4 team in this league is myself. Well-deservedly, myself. I have the lowest points scored. I don't know what else to say. David Johnson, I hate you. Actually, I love you. Can you just come back to life, please, for me? But I'm not giving up. I'll put money down. No, I won't put money down. I already put money down for this league. But I'm very confident that I can still make the playoffs, which we'll get into the playoff format at the end of this ranking segment too. At number 9, digging the feels, Matt Hartz. Hey man, you got a pretty good roster. Just some bad luck. That win you got over Reese to give you your only win. Still the closest margin, one of the closest margins I've ever seen. There's a few roster moves that I know you can actually make. If you wanted my advice, I was looking at your roster earlier. I got some advice for you, but I can help you out. Number 8, Mikey Kimura. You've had some weird roller coasters like LaShawn McCoy on the team, kind of going up and down. He was one of my iffy picks this whole draft. There's some really good pieces on this roster that actually, I need to grab my phone. I already forgot. I remember most of your guys' rosters, but it's hard to remember everybody's. But Mikey, he's got Saquon Barkley. Gronk has been kind of a letdown in terms of that tight end position, but the tight end position overall is just a nasty tight end position this year. But he's got a few good pieces on the roster. Kenny Golladay. I don't think you need 2 quarterbacks, especially when there's only 10 teams in the league. So you have Rivers and Wentz. I don't think you can really use one of them as trade bait, just because the tight end position, the quarterback position is so easy to stream. But dude, I shouldn't be giving you this advice, but I am. I'm a good man. I'm a good guy, guys. I'm a good guy. Trying to stay in this league, all right? Trying to stay in this league. All right. And at number 7, who actually really likes his team going into the year, and I think it's actually still a really good team. But Curtis, the Lynch Mob Squad, is sitting at number 7 out of 10. I don't know how. If you just read down the roster, it's actually a pretty good roster. I think the outlook moving forward is going to be really good. Probably the biggest letdown, is like Amari Cooper, who's such a fucking pain in the ass. Leonard Fournette and his injuries, even though you have Kareem Hunt and James Conner now, still. Conner should be the lead back for a few more weeks until Le'Veon Bell gets there, assuming he does get there, if they don't trade him or something. But Tyler Boyd, Golden Tate, solid roster. So, if you're 7 through 10, and myself, I'm in there as well. Trust me, I've looked at your roster because I want to help guide you to get back in it. You know what I mean? And fight your way to the top, because the people sitting at the top, I really wish they weren't there, but they are. You know, there's some people I wouldn't be mad about at the top, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Say at number 6 out of 10. And so is Adam, Guns and Rosen. Adam, you're 1 and 3, so you're kind of in the same boat as us, 7 through 9 people. You're not in the 0 and 4 boat like me, but you've got pretty dang good roster. You do have the number 1 quarterback in the whole league, which is Pat Mahomes. Your starting receivers of Diggs and Devontae Adams. You've had some ups and downs with Jay Ajayi, Alex Collins, so your running backs took some hits. But Alshon Jeffrey's back from injury, and he looked damn good last week. John Brown's good. You're bouncing between Jordan Reed, Kyle Rudolph. I think those are 2 pretty good tight ends to have the rest of the year. It's considering the tight end landscape that's just been moving forward. But, you know, it's really not your fault. You're in this position. Le'Veon Bell has made this entire season just that much more interesting. You know, James Conner being freaking dominant back in that offense should just tell you how good Le'Veon would have been if he was starting weeks 1 through 4. But dude, like if you can break even, like let's say you get into week 8 at 4 and 4, and Le'Veon Bell's back, dude, yeah, like that, your roster's gonna make a run. You'll have the number 1 quarterback in Pat Mahomes, and I still think Le'Veon Bell will be the number 1 running back in the games he plays. Like he'll finish off in those games as the number 1 RB because in my eyes he's still the best running back in the league. But there's some people giving him a run for their money. So at number 5 is Tim / Jay Watch. You know, I've been leaning on. You've probably been leaning on like Melvin Gordon, Carlos Hyde. You know, I mentioned Hyde before. He's on pace for 20 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon's looked good. That's even with an offense that supports guys like Keenan Allen. Mike Williams had a couple blow up games, and then Austin Eckler out of nowhere is having a couple blow up games. But and the LA Chargers defense has looked pretty bad the first 4 weeks. I actually think they're gonna look better as the season goes on. I didn't think that secondary would be so bad. They added Derwin James, but the loss of Joey Bosa hurts a lot. They just can't get any pressure with Melvin Ingram on one side. They never really beefed up their linebacking core enough to stop the run, so now they're just kind of bouncing all over the place. But I project it to be a better outlook the rest of the year. So Melvin Gordon's still going to be a stud. Kenyon Drake to me might be someone in a 10-team league. I might even drop the guy or just stash him. I don't know. I didn't like that guy coming in. But Adam Thielen, I have him in one of my leagues. Awesome receiver. He leads the league in targets right now, which was a shocker because most people thought Stephon Diggs was going to lead the league in targets. You have OBJ. He'll come back. Anyways, I think I'm going too much about your roster. Number 4, Mr. Reese, my co-star, who's not here with me. He's actually nursing a repaired ACL. Just had surgery. So if you're watching this, send Reese a text, send him a message, talk some shit. You know, send him a video of you like stretching out your legs and stuff, and be like, "Yo, bro, you can't do this right now." I'm just kidding, Reese. That's really mean. That's pretty fucked up. But send him some love. Wish him a speedy recovery. I know you're aching to get back on the courts and shit, Reese. Just walking like a normal human being. So, you know, heal up fast. And, yeah, we'll do some damage. But Reese, actually a really freaking good team. Number 4 doesn't really show the potential of what you have on this roster. With Jordan Howard's had a few bad games. But you have Zeke, Michael Thomas on the roster. I've looked at your roster plenty of times because it's like the roster I go to when I'm looking for trade bait. But Marshawn Lynch, Jarvis Landry, T.Y. Hilton. There's a lot of good people. Robert Woods, who anybody on that Rams offense right now is killing it. George Kittle might be the steal. Like he's number 3 tight end in the whole league right now. He's someone I think you drafted way late. Might have been your last pick in the whole draft. Was George Kittle. So props there. This is where it gets interesting, man. Number 3, Tiff is sitting at number 3, and I said it in the chat. I gotta eat my words. A lot of people have to eat our words. We gave you shit for drafting Kamara number 2, which right now is the steal of the first round. Kamara in a lot of people's drafts was being selected anywhere like between 6 and 8, right? Like you have the top 4 running backs were already set, and then Antonio, and people were drafting Hopkins and Barkley. I've seen drafts where Hunt was even going before Kamara. It's going to be interesting to see, now that Mark Ingram's coming back, how that's going to work. But lucky for you, you do have the number one tight end in your freaking roster, Jared fucking Cook, who, yeah, it's crazy. Juju Smith, good one. Calvin Ridley, who we also gave you crap about, which I'll still give you crap about because you selected him really early, but you can't argue with the results that he's giving you right now. He's 6 touchdowns in the past 3 games. He's only had 4 career games and has 6 touchdowns, as I mentioned before, which is as many touchdowns as Julio Jones has in 31 games. Joe Mixon's going to come back from injury, so that's going to help you out right now. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. Sitting at number 2 in the league is Sarah. Sarah actually has the most points in the league. Ran into a blow-up matchup, gave her 1 loss, so she's 3-1. Technically, if we just went off points, she should be 4-0. But obviously, she drafted Gurley number 1, and then pretty much filled up her roster. I think ending the draft, I told Sarah that her roster was probably my favorite. Thankfully for her, Tyreek Hill has benefited from Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid's crazy schemes, and you know, I mean, I explain it. Tyreek Hill's a fantasy unicorn. That's the only way I can describe him. And there's some really good pieces on the roster. I'm looking at it right now. AJ Green is there, Jimmy Graham, Emmanuel Sanders. Good pickup on TJ Yeldon. It was a guy I really wanted and I was targeting. Drew Brees, you got on your roster, then you went out this week and picked up Kirk Cousins because, hey, you never know. Drew Brees finished with like 8 fantasy points last week in a good matchup, in a good, like, on paper matchup. And Kirk Cousins, who we thought was a bad matchup playing against the Rams, put up like 33 points. So I think that's a good way to cover your tracks. Number 1 team in the league, it goes to Chris Aguilar. 2 Gurleys, 1 Cup. Chris, actually, like, you have 530 points to your name right now, which would actually rank you number 5, which isn't that bad. But the rankings of 1 through 10, this might be like the most, I think, accurate depiction I've ever seen of standings before. Sometimes you'll get someone in like the 8th or 9th spot who have the 2nd highest points in the league. They just ran up against bad matchups, but like only Sarah and Chris, if like you swapped their point totals, and Chris would be down number 5, but everybody else would just stay exactly where they're at. That's pretty much it. But hey, man, your roster's looking good. It's gonna be interesting. You've had some blow up games from DeAndre Hopkins. Christian McCaffrey's back from bye week. You got Gio, which gave you some really good help that Joe Mixon was gone. So it's gonna be interesting to see how your roster moves forward. But you know, we'll see. This is pretty fun, pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not happy to be at number 10. I'm not gonna lie. I was not expecting to be at number 10, considering how much I love fantasy football. But hey, this is week 4. If you're 1-3, right? So if you're Adam, Curtis, Mikey, Matt, like, dude, don't give up. Anything can change. This season has been crazy, which is why, you know, it is the way it is. It's just been nuts. But how quickly it became this, it can quickly change and just transform into a completely different season. So if you're 1-3, don't give up. Keep fighting. So one of the announcements I still have to do is I know I sent a message out to everyone this morning about playoff format. I'm normally a fan of a 14, 15, 16 playoff format. So those weeks 14 is the beginning of playoff format. So I'm going to set that. If you saw the notification today, I've already set it. It's going to be 6 teams will make playoffs. The top 2 teams will get a bye. And then in week 14, and then 15, 16 is going to be the championship. No fantasy football in week 17. We're probably going to do some other side bets in week 17, though, because I really like doing that. So if you're, you know, in a 10-team league, 6 out of 10 make the playoffs. 60% of the league gets in the playoffs. So if you're 1-3 right now, you have 10 more weeks to get back up there. You could run the scoreboard and be 10-4. You know, you could be 9-5. Like, keep going. You know what I mean? Keep going, keep fighting, keep grinding. If I'm gonna keep grinding at 0-4 with the lowest point total in the league, you can do it too. If you want some help on your roster, I promise I give very unbiased, honest, neutral advice. I got your back. I help everybody who texts me. I get text messages all the time. I Giving my best advice. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it does not. Ask Tiff. She asked me if she should start Garrett Goff this week. She wanted to start Baker Mayfield, and I said, sure, why not? And it looks on paper, it looks like the correct move. Obviously, we know how that turned out. So, one other thing I want to announce for next year is that we're gonna do right now. The way our free agency works is we're on waiver wire, obviously, so it goes by waiver priority. Next year will be Fab. We're gonna switch to Fab. Fab is my favorite way to do it. It would have been my preferred way. I just know that we have a lot of people in this league who, number one, have actually never played fantasy football before, and so for sure, number two, they've never done Fab before. Actually, I hope you're familiar with how this waiver priority works and what the number next to your name means. So that number next to your name is your priority, right? So if you have the number 2 priority and you claim a player with someone else who has the number 7, since you have the number 2 priority, you get the top priority. So you take that player, but once you use your priority on that player, it sets you back to number 10, all right? And then it moves up like that. So just moving forward, if you weren't familiar with how that works, that's how it works. That's what waiver priority means. Next year will be Fab. So basically it means that you have a free agent acquisition budget. So let's say you have $100. Every week comes around, you bid on a player. But again, we'll get into that a little bit later. I know it sucks. Some of you, like me, some of you like me, are wishing it was already Fab because we hit some like major injuries and we had a lot of shitty, poopy, duddy people, and we just are ready to blow our fucking budget on a player. So I'm sorry it's not that. But with that, segueing into, I will give you a piece of advice on how to navigate waivers in order to help you. This is like a sneaky little trick. It's almost like a glitch that is done through Yahoo, and it might not even be existent in your other like formats like ESPN or NFL or blah blah blah, right? So the way I've done this a couple times, and you might have seen it, is so let's say you have a player on your roster that you're like not even sure about. So let's say, a couple of names here, like Jamal Williams. I think, Matt, you have Jamal Williams, and I've been looking at everyone's rosters, and there's a few names out there that I think shouldn't even be on a roster, like Jamal Williams. To me, shouldn't be on a roster. That guy's garbage. But let's say you have Jamal Williams, right? And so, he plays his game let's just say his game starts at 10 a.m. on Sunday, right? And in that game, he gets hurt. Like, he's just done. He messes up his knee. You're like, fuck, like, this guy's sitting on my roster and he's hurt. Or he just has a shitty game. Maybe he fumbles, and Mike McCarthy and the Green Bay Packers offense just pull him out, and they're just not going to play him at all. And the rest of the season is not going to look good for this guy. You're like, damn, I wish this guy was on my roster. At that point, what you can do, you can go into the free agency pool. You can look at all the players that have not played their game yet, that have not started their game yet. So that's the 1 o'clock games, the Sunday night football game, and the Monday night football games, right? So like Sunday night football this week is Houston versus Dallas, right? The Texans and the Dallas Cowboys, right? And for sure you're not going to keep Jamal Williams because he got benched or got hurt or whatever. Marquise Goodwin, I think, Curtis, you have him. I'm a Niner fan. I don't think he's going to be good the rest of the year at all without Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So say you have these guys, you're going to be like, dude, like that Sunday night game, Houston versus Dallas, like, dude, what if, Michael Gallup, what if he goes off? There's a good chance he goes off, right? Or if you look at the Texans side, right, you're looking like, like Kiki Kuti, who actually I think already got picked up, but Monday night game is New Orleans and the Washington Redskins, right? So you can be looking at New Orleans offense. You're like, dude, Ted Ginn might be a viable option moving forward. I'm just going to drop Jamal Williams now. Even though his game has already started, you can drop the player and pick up a player whose game hasn't started. You know what I mean? So usually, like on Sunday morning, if you're paying attention to your team, I would say it's like a 50-50 shot. There's someone on your roster, you already know in your head, you're like, dude, I'm going to fucking drop this guy. I have no more use for him. Right when you have that moment, start scrolling through, look at the guys that have yet to play, and just stash them. I would just stash them. Like if I'm looking at the Texans, I would just stash a guy like Alfred Blue. Because what if Lamar Miller gets hurt in that game? There's zero risk there. You're dropping a player on your roster that you already didn't want. You know what I mean? So you look at the 1 o'clock games. Maybe you're looking at the 1 o'clock games and one of your players sucks and it's already played. Fine. Look at Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. Even if Sunday's done and you know there's a guy that sucks there, drop him. Grab a player from the Saints or the Redskins, right? Like, just grab them. Josh Doxson, who knows? Vernon Davis, if Jordan Reed were to get hurt, Vernon Davis immediately becomes a tight end 1, right? Like, Alex Smith loves going to the tight end. That's why Jordan Reed has looked pretty decent this year. As long as he stays healthy, he's a good tight end. But if he gets hurt, right? So if you have a shitty player, you want to drop him and just stash a player who you think might have a chance. Worst case scenario is you drop him the next week, which you were already going to drop the previous player on your roster anyway. All right, so it's a little bit of a way to kind of finagle and navigate through. In case you hate the fact that we're waiver party and we're not fab. Promise next year we will be fab. I don't even know if I'll be in this league next year, but I promise you it will be fab. And if you got any questions, anything at all, any ideas for future videos, holla at your boy. Best of luck the rest of the season, and watch out. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. I actually think I'm gonna lose this week, but maybe next week. I'm coming for you. All right. Have a good one.